This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the Monday Night Raw review here on the WWE Podcast for this Tuesday, July 11th. Oh boy, not a good start to the show. Oh well, it is July 11th, 2023. Fairly sure about that. And we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw. We're talking about the proposed match that we have for SummerSlam that we all knew was coming 2 months ago. Talk about the lack of a story with Cody and Brock that many of you don't agree with me with, but we'll dive into that. Maybe you'll come on to my side and see the light. We're also going to dive into a very bad match that very rarely happens on Raw, where how many times have we seen bad matches lately? It's a rarity, but it happened on Raw. We'll talk about that. But first, welcome to the show. Welcome to the WWE Podcast. You guys can find us ad-free everywhere the podcasts are available for ad-free, including Apple Podcasts, including WWEpodcast.com if you want to go VIP, or patreon.com/WWE Podcast. And it's a good time to get on Patreon or onto the Apple Podcast ad-free subscription, because we're going to be dropping a very special WrestleMagic episode where we just wrapped, myself, Michael Gross, and PJ Polacco, i.e. Just Incredible, with some amazing, funny, compelling road stories and time in his wrestling career through ECW, WWE. Some very unfiltered descriptions of these said stories. A lot of fun. One of the more enjoyable podcasts I've done in quite a while, and that's only going to be exclusive to those who are on Apple Podcasts on the ad-free side of things, or on Patreon, the SmackDown tier and higher. Okay, that's where it's going to live. And we went over an hour with Just Incredible, and his stories were, get ready for it, just incredible. I mean, so. All right. I'm sure nobody's ever done that with his name. So we are going to be dropping that again in the next day or two. For those of you who are on Apple Podcasts, subscribed on the Apple Podcast side of things for the ad-free, or on SmackDown tier or higher on Patreon. All right. So also there's a big announcement that's happening on that show. Towards the end of the show, there's a big announcement from Michael Gross. You're not going to want to miss it. Okay. So speaking of things that you didn't want to miss, Monday Night Raw, because it emanated from Buffalo, New York, and a lot of things happen on this show as we creep closer to SummerSlam. And the show opened with Finn Balor coming out, and he got into the ring and said that the way things went down at Money in the Bank doesn't sit well with him, and he had issues with Seth Rollins that have not been put to rest because of Damian Priest. And then Judgment Day came out, which just consisted of Dom and Rhea Ripley. And Rhea Ripley was not happy about what was going on. And she talked to Balor, and he basically dropped the mic and left. And Rhea wanted to conduct the business in the back. She didn't want to do it in front of fans. And then Balor glared at Dom and headed to the back and said, Ripley said that what happened was their business and that they still run Monday Night Raw. And Seth Rollins then came out, interrupted Dom. Did Seth Rollins have an entrance like 8 times on Raw? I feel like Rollins came out an excessive number of times. Boy, I mean, again, you continue to just make Seth the complete antithesis of Roman Reigns, which I don't think is a good idea. You're really risking overexposure. I mean, you're already there. If you look at just this episode, Seth was completely overexposed. Yeah, just too much Seth. And I like me some Seth, but if they make this a regular thing where he's in multiple segments for multiple shows in a row for multiple months, that's how the crowd turns on you. Just saying. So, all right, well, let's move on. Rollins came out, though. He had a plate of buffalo wings, and Rollins told Dom to shut his mouth. And he said that they were there to party, eat buffalo wings, and watch the Judgment Day implode. Dom said he would beat Rollins, and then he laughed. And Rollins told Ripley that he would be the only one whipping Dom's ass tonight. So, by the way, I guess Dom is officially known as Dirty Dom now. It's not just this catchphrase. They actually put it in a graphic. So it's Dirty Dom, which I'm cool with. I think that absolutely fits him well, and the crowd just loves to hate him. And for the love of God, at some point in 2023, or if not in early 2024, this man needs a championship. Could it be a tag team championship with Damian Priest? It could be. But Damian Priest is on a trajectory to be a world champion, or maybe a undisputed champion, or maybe an Intercontinental champion. And Dom is going to be right now, and he's in a position where he has a babyface champion to face, but there's no chance that Rollins is going to drop that belt. So to me, the tag team championships, maybe in the interim for Dom and for Damian Priest, seemed likely. If towards the end of the year you want to make that happen, and then eventually we have a cash in for the for a top singles championship by Damian Priest. Things are kind of weird with the Judgment Day right now, but still, they're an entertaining group, and I like the dynamic and the tension between Finn and Damian Priest. It's been enjoyable, but on Raw they seem to smooth things over. But let's continue on here, and we got then a match here with McIntyre and Riddle versus Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. Nice to see Drew back. Man, they really put Drew over like $1 million in the match, as they should have. Corey Graves and Kevin Patrick were falling over each other to talk about how good he looks and how mean he looks and how much better he looks and all this stuff. And fine, like they should be doing that. But yeah, I do wonder if a heel turn is quickly in order for Drew, as Seth is going to need eventually someone to work with that's a top talent, and Drew is a top talent. And Drew turning heel would be a fun turn of events, as the last time we saw Drew heel was when he was Shane McMahon's heavy 5 years ago. It's been quite some time since we've seen Drew as a heel. That's not to say that there's not more out of his babyface run that you could get, but I don't know. A heel Drew seems fun against a babyface Seth, and he's a real threat to the championship, as he is to Gunther's IC title if he doesn't capture that. So Drew is in a very good place right now. He's fresh off a return. He needed that rest. Obviously, he's healed his body. He's gotten the injuries fixed via surgery and time off. He's mentally recharged, hopefully, as well as physically. But he's got a lot of guys to work with now, notwithstanding a heel turn. So, that said, Riddle and McIntyre looked really good in the match. Kaiser and Vinci continue to lose, which, I'm split on that. I guess, given the same scenario, I would have also had McIntyre and Riddle go over, but at the same time, if you're going to have Gunther be associated with these two that keep losing, eventually that feeling of despair rubs off on the ring general. And right now, if you didn't hear the rumors, the latest rumor is, I think this was on Sportskeeda, that WWE is looking at a massive match for WrestleMania 40 with Gunther and his opponent, Brock Lesnar. So if that match happens, you gotta start in the next couple of months building Gunther as looking like an unbeatable monster. Same with Brock Lesnar. He's suffered some losses lately, and I think that he needs to get back on track. Again, WrestleMania is not around the corner. We've got many months to go here, but if you want both of them to be looking as strong as possible, I would say by the end of the year, October, November, December, you want to start getting both of them on a hot streak, even if Gunther ends up dropping the IC belt. Once Gunther drops that IC belt, maybe to Drew, maybe to somebody else, then that's not necessarily a bad thing. Then he can move on to the next level. And that next level could be Seth or Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 40. So, just again, this is all rumor and innuendo, but makes sense to me. Makes total sense to me. Even as they are presently constituted right now, that is a match I'd want to see. Imagine months of build for this, where both guys are separated, right? There's no match official yet, but Gunther goes on a tear. He looks unbeatable and brutal. Brock Lesnar does the same. And all of a sudden in the Rumble or something, they come face to face. They bump into each other backstage. Something wacky happens. And all of a sudden, it's just like two guys that look unbeatable come together. So it is kind of a dream match, but it can be even better with preparation and with build that hasn't even happened yet. So some fun times may be ahead, but let's move on. We got, let's see what else happened. Ripley, who seems to be running the group now, letting Balor and Damian hash it out backstage. And it was weird. I think they put this line in there for her, but what was going on didn't make sense. What I mean by that is there was a part in backstage when Rhea said, let's handle our business backstage. Yet apparently she's completely oblivious to a camera on them. Whatever. That's not the point. I'm talking about specifically when Damian Priest was just talking to Seth about the issue and that he would never cash in on him and all that. And Rhea Ripley interrupts and says, guys, nothing's going to get accomplished if you're talking over each other. And I'm like, wait, who's talking over who? No, Damian is talking solo right now. No one's yelling at each other. Finn isn't trying to talk over Damian. Damian was just calmly explaining with no interruption, totally visible, no distractions, nobody yelling over him. And then she interrupts and says, guys, nothing's going to accomplish if you're talking over each other. What are you talking about? What voices are you hearing in your head? So I think that was a line that either Finn was supposed to be trying to talk over Damian and Rhea was going to interrupt. I'm not sure what happened there, but it was a weird line that made no sense. However, they apparently smoothed things over as Finn laid out his issue with Damian, and Damian said, Seth, or Finn, don't worry. Look, I would not cash in on you, and you can take care of Seth. I have no problem with that. And we got it covered either way, and he holds up the briefcase as kind of a little bit of a reminder of, hey, even if you fail, I got this. So a little bit of a backhanded compliment. All right. Then we got a very cool Indus Shear. Fine. We're just going to call it Indus Shear. Kind of blend it all together, right? And it was with a Veer Mahan coming to Raw graphic, but it was Jinder Mahal speaking. And it was very, I think, effective and short and well done. Basically giving a warning to the entire tag team roster about, belief is an illusion, or believing you can win is an illusion. And, we're going to stand on your dreams, or some kind of analogy that was, I think, well done. And Jinder Mahal has really found a nice place here. I mean, he has just fits this role perfect. I'm sure this will be covered on the Veer Mahan Report tomorrow night in our mailbag by none other than DJ Kuzmo, but I think my prediction of the Indus Shear striking sooner than later could come to fruition, as now they're actually putting out promos on a regular basis, and every time they are in the ring, they squash whoever they're in the ring with, albeit enhancement talent. But the next step is, hey, maybe the tag team champions, maybe they do attack Kevin and Sammy. Maybe it's right after SummerSlam, after their match with whoever. Maybe it is the Judgment Day. Maybe it is Finn and Damian or Dom and Damian versus Kevin and Sammy, and Kevin and Sammy beat them, but then the Indus Shear attack. I mean, that was something I predicted months ago, and we're getting close. Getting close, but I really like what I'm seeing so far with these video packages for the end of year. Okay, Seth comes out again, and we get Ripley distracting Rollins once he was on the steps, Dom attacking Rollins and then chased him into the crowd, and Finn and Damian attacked Rollins in the crowd and then took him ringside, and Kevin and Sammy came out to make the save, and you knew immediately what this was going to be. If you've been watching wrestling even for like 5 minutes, you know what this is going to be. It's a Teddy Long special. The 6-man tag was made for later in the night. Okay, so this next segment was really surprising to me. And I don't know if I should be surprised, but it was really a lot of fun when I didn't expect it to be. That involved a segment with Ricochet. And Ricochet coming out and saying, that he's here. Everyone knows while we're here, but he wanted to say something from the heart. And they said if you know him, every risk he takes is for the fans so they can go home and say Ricochet was the highlight of their night. I didn't like that so much. It's basically saying, hey, I'm here to put on a performance. I hope you like me the best. Like that kind of crap. Keep it at home. Save it for the Hall of Fame speech if you make it there. Yeah, can we just get to the part where you're supposed to stay in character and tell us why you want to win? Enough with how good of a performance. Performance implies phony. Performative implies it's not actually competitive. I don't like the word performance or performers or any version of that word when it does not belong on pro wrestling television at all. Unless you're saying somebody's performing a move. That's it. That's the only context you can talk about it in my world and my rules of wrestling. And so I didn't like that part, telling everybody that it was just a little insane. And I almost went on a rant about the Hall of Fame. Maybe I'll do that towards the end of the show because I tweeted out something earlier this week and got some kickback for it. But anyway, this was good because it really showed a new side of Ricochet, or a side of Ricochet that we haven't seen in WWE. I understand he's been on Lucha Underground. He's done other things in his career. For all intents and purposes, a lot of guys' careers don't begin in WWE, but they are remembered for their part in WWE. So while their entirety of their body of work may not be in WWE, let's be honest, most eyeballs don't see you until you arrive in WWE. That's just a fact of life. So that's my point in saying that is this was one of the more memorable parts of Ricochet's career. And when I say career, it's implied his WWE career, which is really the heart of his career. And the most eyeballs on him. So he said that he gives Paul credit for what he's accomplished in WWE, but he said they've crossed paths on multiple occasions, and Ricochet recalled Paul jumping him once because he didn't get his way. And Ricochet said it's cool because that happens in WWE, but what bothered Paul was going on his podcast and labeling him unprofessional when Paul admitted that he didn't even know what he was doing in the first place. And he said, come out and say it to my face. I liked this because part of me wants to complain. There's a small part of me. It's not the majority part, but there's a part of me that's like, well, you don't care if someone physically tries to injure you, but a few words make your tummy hurt. Do you know what I mean? Like you're trying to knock me out. You're trying to physically injure me. No problem. That's cool. But don't say those words about me being unprofessional. It hurts my tummy. He's saying like that. Hey, the physical part of it is expected in WWE, but this part about calling me unprofessional, the words part of it is not part of WWE. It's like, no, actually, you could argue the words are a bigger part of it because promos are a massive part and sometimes even arguably a bigger part of your success or failure than the in-ring stuff. So part of me wants to say that, and I guess part of me just did. However, what it boils down to is respect. So understandable there. there is something to grab onto there. Saying that somebody that's been here way longer than you is unprofessional is a lack of respect. So fine, let's take the respect road. And Paul comes out and he said that Ricochet talked about meeting man to man when he looks like a little boy. Paul said he wanted to get things over with quickly so he could, quote, get out of this crap city. And Paul said Ricochet is one of the most spectacular stars he's ever seen, but he stands by what he said on his podcast and said that Ricochet and his cronies cared more about Paul losing than actually winning. And Paul labeled Ricochet a reckless amateur. Yeah, so it's funny that the rookie's calling the veteran an amateur and unprofessional. So there is a story there, certainly. I mean, as the saying goes, Paul has been there for half a hiccup, and he's obviously in no position to say that. Ricochet said he's a man of the people. Gag me. Bleh. And none of the people wanted Paul anywhere near the Money in the Bank briefcase. And Ricochet said Paul throwing around the word unprofessional. Ricochet said he wouldn't be standing in the ring after 20 years if he had not been professional. And then a Logan sucks chant broke out. And then Paul in the middle of this said, you're in the middle of your promo and the chant's still about me. I don't like that meta stuff. He could have just not said the word promo. I'm not going to go crazy about it. It is something that I'm glad he took advantage of, but he could have said it differently. That wasn't just so outright pulling back the curtain. But Ricochet said he was going to do the unprofessional thing or do the professional thing and challenge Paul to a match. And Ricochet said now that he saw Paul, all he wanted to do was hurt him. And Ricochet said he would, but he's not. He doesn't want him to run his mouth about him ever again. And Paul said, or what? And he talked about Ricochet's forehead. I don't think Ricochet had a forehead or a 5 head, as they say. He's got a shaved head. I got a shaved head, but your forehead stops no matter where your hairline is. It's still, at a certain point in your head. Anyway, we're getting lost in weird details here. Paul said Ricochet wanted a match with him so he could go viral. And Paul said he doesn't care about going viral. He's a WWE superstar. I don't know what one has to do with the other, but sure. Paul said he didn't think things were going to work out between them. And Ricochet then flipped over the rope, which was just crazy, and landed on his feet in front of Paul. And Paul said that was cool for a TikTok. He said he's not about attention to make moments because he is the moment. And then he dropped the mic, turned around, tried to sucker punch Ricochet twice, but Ricochet dropped both punches and ran to the apron and hit a variation of sliced bread. And that's it. So I really enjoyed this. There were people chanting Ricochet. This is the most personality we've seen from Ricochet, where he is, quote, the human highlight reel. That's all we've known from Ricochet is that's the dude that does cool moves. And that to me has never been enough for me to care about what he does. He's never going to win in a big spot. He's in these Money in the Bank and ladder matches and all these other ones to just do cool stuff, right? He's the guy that if you're a kid, you probably gravitate to because he is basically the resident superhero with all the things he does. He is freakishly athletic. No question. The dude is insane. His physical ability is unmatched. But he's essentially, if I was MJF, I'd cut a promo about him being just a glorified male gymnast. It's kind of what he does, but spectacularly, no doubt. The more important part to me is establishing a character that people emotionally can connect with. People don't emotionally connect with maneuvers. People don't emotionally connect. I don't care what the move is. If they connect with a move, it's because the person performing it is the connection. The person using the maneuver that the fans react to the maneuvers for are just a vehicle for why the crowd's reacting the way they are because of who's performing them and who they're supporting to win or lose. So I probably didn't say that right, but the moves are simply just how you win or lose. They are the vehicles in which you use, but the characters, the people are what draw money, are what create stars, are what make or break stars. So, and my point is, after all saying all the diatribe here, Ricochet showed more personality and was able to connect with the crowd more in 10 minutes than he has in like the 2 years, 3 years. You know what I mean? Like he has really did a nice job in this promo. Okay, Becky Lynch versus Zoey Stark was next. Lynch was out there, or Trish was out there with her face mask, and she tried to cost Becky the match with tripping her legs from the bottom rope. And this was a 10-minute match. I really enjoyed this match more than I think some did. It showed Zoey Stark and her ability in a way that I think fans needed to see, that have not seen Zoey Stark perform before, or wrestle, excuse me. See what they've done to me? Wrestle before. So that was good for Zoey Stark. Trish costing Becky made sense. Lynch loses to Zoey Stark. I'd have no problem with it. It makes sense. And yeah, so, okay, let's move on here. We've got some Alpha Academy silliness that I won't go over. We got Shayna Baszler versus Emma. This ended in a minute and a half after she applied the Karafuda clutch, got the submission. And then Ronda Rousey's music played, and she walked to the ring, and Rousey tagged Baszler with a punch to the face. And then they wrestled on the mat, and Baszler went for her finish, and Rousey escaped the hold and went for an armbar, and then Baszler escaped and left the ring. Cool. This is a weird program. It feels like nobody's the babyface. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the fans don't know what to do. I mean, when push comes to shove, I would imagine they're going to support Shayna, especially if the rumors congregate around Ronda Rousey leaving. They don't typically support people on their way out, especially when it's well known. History has shown that. So, all right, Cody Rhodes then made his entrance, and Graves was unimpressed by the pyro that shoots off. I don't know why. Something must have happened with the pyro that I didn't see, but I missed it. So Cody turned his back on the hard cam and looked to the crowd behind him, and he told the fans he saw them and hopes they sees them, but hopes he sees. I don't know. Wait. I'm reading the description. He told the fans he saw them and said he hopes they saw him. Oh, that's a weird. Okay. So Cody said the reason it feels like the fans are in the ring with him and it doesn't feel performative, there's a slap on the wrist, is that what he has told the fans since he's returned is real. Cody said he's not talking about career goals. He's talking about life goals. He recalled being asked at a press event about momentum, and Cody said the question and his answer have haunted him. I don't know if that actually is true, or if it just was made up or fabricated about somebody asking him about, how do you feel about your momentum? If it actually happened, cool. Like, I mean, like, great that he used that to move something forward here with his promo. But assuming it's not, I can't imagine somebody actually going up to Cody Rhodes. Like, if you're a fan, or you're you're even in a press conference in a formal setting, it's a weird question to ask. It's too broad. Like, how do you feel about your momentum? That doesn't sound like a real question a human being would ask. It sounds like the question that he wanted to be asked in order to set up this promo. But somebody I'm sure on Twitter will go, no, dude, are you stupid? Somebody actually asked him at a press conference, and here's the clip. Fine. Okay, fine. Great. Then I will gladly eat crow on that one. But it just sounds fake. Something seems weird about that. I just don't believe him. However, it's talking about how he went a little meta here and said that he doesn't feel performative, and that what he told the fans since he returned is real. Well, yeah, dude. Again, when you're in the ring, don't talk about being real and using inside language or talking about performances. Save that for even the press conference. I'll accept it even in the post-press conference of an event. I just don't talk about it in ring when you're actually supposed to be doing things that are implied that are real. You know what I mean? It's almost like saying that is implicative of saying that, well, I was kind of performing before, but right now I'm being real. We all know wrestling's performative, but no, I'm being real. It's like, dude, stop. I don't know. It takes that kind of stuff. It gets attention in the oohs and the ahs, and oh my God, he said that. But it's also takes you out of the moment. You want to be in a groove watching wrestling. Anyway, he said that he was a bit cagey and incited fans about how the buildings are sold out everywhere he goes. Yeah, I'd like to put that to the test. And the fans are louder and louder. Yeah, except when you're in the United States. He said every arena is progressively louder. No. Really? You're saying from London to wherever the hell they were after London was louder than London? Really? I have my doubts about that. But hey, he's not being performative. This is being real. So he said that he's doing okay in every metric he can be measured by, and that his in-ring momentum is a bit shaky because of Brock Lesnar, and Cody said Lesnar wasn't there because he didn't think Buffalo was worthy, and he was told he would be on Raw next week. And we finally get to the crescendo of this and said that how everyone has their own Lesnar that stands in their way, and he said that he wants Lesnar at SummerSlam, and he has to have another match with Lesnar because, quote, that guy is next in line, and the prince doesn't want to be the prince forever. Was that taken from a movie? This was weird. Cody said he wants to be and will be next in line. Okay. So, I don't know. Again, there's no chance that this is not going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. Cody Rhodes' promo, was it the most memorable one? No. He is a bit pandering, talking about how he feels like the fans are in the ring with him. I mean, why don't we all just have one big group hug? And this is where those of you that are like, why are you hating on Cody or Cody hater? Let me just say for those of you out there, Cody Rhodes has proven himself. Okay? Cody Rhodes continues to get big reaction after big reaction. He has one of the best entrance songs in recent memory. He has done a great job generally on the mic. Great job in the ring. His suits I've gotten used to. Fine. Let's, whatever. I think some of the drawbacks, though, of him are that his lisp. I know no one wants to talk about it. I have no problem with it. It's just a fact. His lisp is distracting. I think it does take away from his promos. Not that he's not good in the context. See, Cody is so good on the mic that he can draw attention away from it, even though it's constantly there, and his context is good, and the way he delivers is very good, usually. But I'll be honest, like, if he didn't have the lisp, it would be that much better. Is it going to stop him ultimately from being a world champion? No. Oh, somebody's hating on his disability. Look, if you're in the public eye and your job is to be on national television, that comes with the territory of people critiquing you. And I'm a Cody supporter, but I'm not going to pretend that the lisp is not a negative and pretend it's a positive. Oh, it makes him unique. Stop. Look, I'm not going to go on a diatribe about his lisp. I've done it in the past and commented on it. I stand by it. I don't take a single thing back about it. I'm not crapping on him for it. It is what it is. It's just objectively true that it's distracting. That's all. That's all it is. And I know in this very kind of victimhood mentality of a culture we live in now, everybody somehow has to have some kind of ailment so that they can ascend up that victimhood ladder to, gain power, which is how things work today. But my point is, going way off track, it's not going to stop him from being where he wants to be. It's just distracting when he's cutting promos. That's it. Anyway, so we'll get the match with Lesnar, and Lesnar will accept next week, as I would imagine a lot of matches for SummerSlam are going to be announced next week. They will be, because I feel like we're lacking big time in that regard. Jay and Roman has not been officially announced. Brock and Cody has not been officially announced, and that's kind of it. Outside of those two big matches, like we don't have a whole lot. You'd imagine that Becky and Lita for a final time, or Becky and Trish for a final time, will be announced. You know, I would imagine also Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day in some version of themselves will be announced. And Drew versus Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship is probably going to be announced. So just kind of a speculative lineup. All right, Tommaso Ciampa versus The Miz in a no DQ match. Oh, we got Miz beats Ciampa in 13 minutes. And after the match, Miz looked at Reed, who was on stage, and appeared to wink before celebrating his win. So this, let me read the finish. For those that saw the Hulu version like I did, let me tell you what the finish was. Ciampa had Miz pinned, but Bronson Reed showed up, pulled him on the floor. Graves said Miz used Reed's services in the past and questioned if that was what was happening. Reed roughed up Ciampa and then hit him with a tsunami before leaving the ring, and that's how Miz got the victory. So Mr. Fired Up Serious Miz gets a cheap victory. No, whatever. I can't take The Miz seriously. I just can't. I explained why last week. It's just somebody that is serious for 5 minutes, and then the other 55 minutes he goes back to jokey Miz TV. So I just can't. All right. Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green versus Caden Carter and Katana Chance. Sonya and Chelsea beat Caden and Katana in 2 minutes. It was not the best of matches. Rough. The crowd was flat. It just was not good. It was clunky, a clunky sunset flip. Not good. And it was sloppy. And hey, it just was. I'm not going to sit here and defend them. They're not. All four of these women are good in the ring. And it's just one of those things that you don't see much on WWE TV these days, where we've been accustomed to quality match after quality match after quality match, and the massive improvement in the women's division. And then you get to this, and it's like, whoa. You know, you're looking at your watch, like, you know, looking at your calendar, and you're going, is it 2000? Is it 2008 right now, or is it 2023? So, all right. I mean, I'm not going to sit and crap on them. They just had a rough night. We then get out Seth Rollins coming out again. And that's, of course, after Drew and Riddle were backstage. And apparently Drew McIntyre is all about going out and drinking in every city he's in. That's his personality now. That's just who he is now. But they hyped... After Rollins came out, they hyped next week's Raw with Brock Lesnar coming and making an appearance. But then we get the main event, and it's a 6-man tag of Seth, Owens, and Zayn versus Damian, Finn, and Dom, with Rhea, of course. The match was 12 minutes and 40 seconds, and it was a good match. Surprising win for the Judgment Day. I thought for sure you put the world champion and you put the tag champions in a match. Of course, they're going to beat the heels, but I like this. The Judgment Day needed a victory here. They have been getting beat too often as of late. They needed this way more than Kevin, Sammy, and Seth did, for sure. So the finish that happened here, in case you wanted to be reminded, was that Zayn put Balor in the corner for an exploder suplex. Zayn set up for his finish, the haluva kick, but Ripley grabbed his foot, and then Priest hit South of Heaven, and Balor followed up with a coup de grace on Zayn and got the victory. So Zayn takes a pinfall. The heels needed it. I really didn't think this was a bad idea. Again, a little bit of the all-important momentum. So no official SummerSlam matches for the show. Really weird. They did the same thing on SmackDown. I don't know why they feel it's good to wait till last second. Maybe they don't have the card finalized. And that's why that they wait so long. Or they just feel that waiting till the last couple of weeks is a better idea to keep people and fans tuned in. Maybe a little of both. But overall, a solid edition of Raw. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was blow away. It moved some things forward. We had a sloppy match that's a rarity nowadays, so I'll give it a pass. And we had a memorable Ricochet promo with Logan Paul. And, hey, overall, good show from Buffalo. Brock comes back next week, and then we'll be off to the races. But I just want to comment on one thing, and I want your take, guys, on this. The Hall of Fame every year, it's an annual event, right? It's just part of WrestleMania weekend. You're always wondering who's going to head up this year's Hall of Fame, who's going to be at the head of the class. And other sports do this too. And Major League Baseball has an annual Hall of Fame event. Why? Why should the calendar dictate who goes in rather than the merits of those trying to get in? Let me just say that one more time. Why does the calendar dictate who goes in instead of it being merit based on the people trying to get in? See, the Hall of Fame is supposed to be for the best of the best, right? At least that's what we're supposed to believe. Again, that's for every sport. Every sport, professional or pro wrestling. It's supposed to be for the best of the best, right? The top 1% of the top 1%. And you completely undermine that sentiment and the meaning of said Hall of Fame when you make it annual. Because you can't tell me every year that there's 10 people that deserve to go in. Every year. No. Because what you're doing then is scrambling every year to go, oh crap, who's going to get in this year? And you got to lower your standards because there simply aren't enough people that would really qualify if you did it merit-based where it happened every 5 years. Or whenever it's dictated, whenever you have individuals who are available, who you've decided in meetings that, hey, this person should go in. And instead you make it every year, which means you just have to kind of fill things up. Got to fill the shoes, fill the seats, make sure we hit X number of people. And it lowers the standards of entry. Because anybody cannot tell me convincingly that there are always that many people that deserve to go into the Hall of Fame every year. There's just not. There are special wrestlers. There are wrestlers that will always be imprinted on your memory. But the Hall of Fame should not be something that's debatable. It should be something that you think of that person and you go, hey, they're a Hall of Famer. There's no debate, no question. They just are. And now we're getting people in that if you just existed in the Attitude Era or the Ruthless Aggression Era, you're in. Right? Like even if you just were there breathing, you're in because you were part of a golden era of wrestling. People kind of remember you. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're in. Like, I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. But it's just, this is probably set for a larger discussion. The Hall of Fame, to me, is undone when you lower the barriers to entry by making it an annual event. And I don't know what these arbitrary rules to get in are or these arbitrary qualifications are. We don't get to vote as fans. We don't get a say. It's all WWE management and now Endeavor and their management, of course. They I'd imagine have some kind of say, but when it's left up to arbitrary qualifications, it's difficult to decipher who gets in and why. And we may never know as fans what these mythical, ever-changing goalposts are that are written in magic ink of what you need to have in order to get into the Hall of Fame. I bet you if you were to isolate every person who is involved in the decision to decide who goes into the Hall of Fame that year, and you put them in separate rooms and you told them, hey, okay, create a checklist of just 10 things that individual has to do in order for you to qualify them for the Hall of Fame, you would get 10 different lists from those number of people, however many there are. Say there's like, I don't know, 20 people, however many people are involved in the discussions. You would get not the same list, which means they're working off of different intangibles. And I understand there are intangibles to get into the Hall of Fame. There are things you can't quantify. There are things you cannot say, oh yeah, they have to have this, meet this metric and be involved and be in WWE for X number of years or whatever. No. I mean, for example, Brock Lesnar on his first run with WWE was in the WWE for 2 years. That's it. And he was there from 02 to 04. And if actually less than 2 years, because I think he came in summer of 02 and he left in March of 04. So less than 2 years. And Brock Lesnar made a massive impact in which we would all agree, even if he stopped in 04, he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think he was that big of a star for that time frame. Obviously, he's gone on to do a lot more. So, my point is that there are things you can't quantify and can't say, well, they have to be in WWE for 5 years minimum. They had to have held this championship. Like, it's one of those difficult to quantify entries into the barriers to entry. And I understand that. But circling back to my larger point, by doing this annually and trying to fit people in to just create a class is the complete and utter undermining of the system's integrity and what it's supposed to mean to get in. That's my point. So I'm sure I'll get a ton of backlash for this and saying, oh, it's an annual event. People are deserving. I bet you if I took some time and I looked at the classes of the last 10 years, I could come up with some people that outside of the quote unquote Hall of Fame wing, okay, that's a separate, mythical wing that doesn't physically exist yet in a building or anything. But in this mythical wing of the Hall of Fame, of course, Kid Rock and all that, like, duh. Those people, yes, are a separate category. But just in the normal Wrestlers Hall of Fame, if you were to look at the last 10 years of the classes that went in, I bet you could make strong arguments for a lot of those individuals to not be in the Hall of Fame. So I'm not saying none of them. I mean, sure, absolutely some of them are deserving, no question. But when you have to just put asses in seats and fill the quota, you're going to automatically devalue the entire system. All right. Well, I did not plan on crapping on the annual Hall of Fame event, but it's worth saying. I felt strongly about that, and I've never really brought it up on the podcast ever. I tweeted it out, and some people didn't like it, which is fine. It's the internet, but let me know what you guys think. And thank you for listening. Again, we have the Wrestle Magic show with Just Incredible that I just finished up recording about an hour and a half ago with Michael Gross, and the road stories that he's had. And it's just some great, really inappropriate, but hilarious stories. Some fan stories, some prank stories, ribs. Owen Hart was mentioned. Scott Hall when he roomed with him. Just some great stuff, guys. So that and a big announcement at the end of the show. So check that out on Apple Podcasts. Again, it's not up yet as of this recording. It'll probably be up Wednesday or Thursday. And that'll be on the ad-free version of the podcast or on the Patreon side of things on the SmackDown tier and higher. So check that out. Give us a 5-star rating if you have time. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'll be back tomorrow with the mailbag. As always, take care. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.